Welcome to Your Best Life. This is episode number 7, and I have Tyrone Beverly here today. We're going to start out with the quote of the day. Discipline interrupts distraction. And that's words from Tyrone himself, and we're going to get into that on the call today as we talk. But I wanted to start off with this incredible words about Tyrone. He's the founder and executive director of I'm Unique, and he's incredible for bringing inclusivity to yoga. It's just everyone, all shapes and sizes, all socioeconomic backgrounds. Tyrone brings them to yoga and makes it accessible to everyone. He also teaches Yoga Journal Live, Wonderlust festivals. He's a Lululemon ambassador. He's been nominated for the 9 News Leader of the Year award, and just involved in health initiatives and locations all over the world, Jamaica, China, all over the United States. Each year, he reaches more than 5,000 participants and continues to contribute to a better society. So welcome to the show, Tyrone.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm psyched to have you. I just want to jump in. I wish we had more than 45 minutes with someone like you. I want to hear about your passion story. You know, I love to start Your Best Life. All these interviews are amazing people in the yoga community that are living these incredible lives. And I like to start out like, why? You know, what drew you to yoga, and why the diversity and keep it so real? You know, can you tell us about that?
I like that you said keep it real. So it's going to definitely get that. So for me, it actually started off with the interest in martial arts. I really appreciated the discipline side of martial arts and tapping into the physical benefits, but more so the mental benefits. In society, I feel like many people lose themselves over time because they don't have the discipline to accomplish what it is they set out to do, and they get distracted. And I felt like martial arts was a tool that I needed to get to stay focused and stay disciplined so I don't lose myself with all the distractions in society, especially growing up in the community I was raised in. It was a lot of gangs, it was a lot of drugs. It was very violent, and there wasn't people coming in our communities giving us those kind of tools. It was the same narrative again and again and again, and many people were losing their lives. And I felt like it was time to change the conversations that were being had, but I had to start with myself. So essentially, I can survive. It's all about self-preservation. And when you have a different circumstance that may be violent, you have to look for the means that are going to allow you to survive. And I felt like martial arts was a tool to give me new insights on how to live. So that was my interest. And then I seen some stuff from Bruce Lee, some of his interviews, and it made a lot of sense to me, more than what I was learning inside the school systems. And that was something that really drew me in. And from that point on, I wanted to get more information on the discipline side of things, the physical training, just to have an overall well-rounded approach to the arts. And in pursuit of a video from Bruce Lee, I ended up finding a Patricia Walden VHS yoga video. And at the time, it wasn't popular. You didn't see it all over. People weren't talking about yoga. And I took it home. It was a woman. It was a workout I've never even been introduced to before, never heard about it. Mm-hmm. And it was an hour and a half, and I couldn't finish it. I was shaking and I was sweating, and I fell in love from that point on. It wasn't the martial arts, but it was still something that I can apply to my own life. And from that point on, I started practicing videos at home, and that's where it began for me.
And where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So I was raised in Colorado, actually. Born in Florida, came out here pretty young age, been here ever since.
So now talk to me about inclusivity. You know, like your events are great. It is, you know, and I got to be honest with you. I run yoga events too. And, it's a lot of Lululemon pants. It's the middle class white girl. We all know that practitioner, and it's wonderful that it's hitting that population. But when I go to your events, it's just like all shapes and sizes, all colors. It's beautiful. You know, like what, you know, you're a man of color yourself, of course. So what drew you to working with all people? It's great.
And this is something that organically happened. As I started off teaching classes, I was in different yoga studios and different gyms. A different audience started showing up, and there were some people who couldn't afford the classes, and they were coming, and some people were even sneaking in because they couldn't afford the fees that were associated with the class. And I allowed them to come in, and I seen the need in the community, and I seen some of the barriers people had and why they were not interested in partaking into the practice, and just being able to create a welcoming environment. Even myself, I went to a couple of studios, and I didn't feel welcome, and I came into a class and someone was very rude and, at the front desk, just like, are you lost? There was a lady who had said something that was really appalling. It was disrespectful. And then she ended up finding out who I was later on, and she was very apologetic. And these are some of the things that I experienced personally. So there's a lot of people who walk into what you think is a love and welcoming environment, and then you find the total opposite. So it's a turnoff. And for us, we make it a point to let everybody know that they're welcome. And it's not about one body type. It's not about one kind of personality, but it's about the overall community. And one thing I hear often is the yoga community. And I stay away from that term because I feel like that term is also oppressive and it creates division. And I believe that there are many yogis, even if they're not practicing the asana, they still have the principles of ahimsa. They have the principles of nonviolence. They have the principles of teaching people how to show up in the world in a positive way and be the light in the world. And when we say the term the yoga community, it limits its reach. And I think a lot of people are not connected to the term because they associate it with the physical application, not looking at the other pieces that are attributed within the yoga practice.
Uh-huh. Great. So
bringing in a variety of different people from all backgrounds, socioeconomics, just allowing them to come into a space at their own pace. So they're not forced to conform. They're not forced to wear certain things. Some people come in with jeans, never been there before. And then over time, they see the importance of, okay, maybe I shouldn't wear jeans, and this is why. So, and then we have people who've been practicing for 15, 20 years and say they've never seen it, in their practice. So it's really about creating a different kind of space to where it's not in the studio, it's happening in the community. So you see it at cultural institutions such as museums and zoos and sporting arenas and even Walmarts. So we go into Walmarts and clear out the clothing racks. And we have a yoga class, and we follow that with a cooking class as well. And that's just showcasing that it's not about the asana. It's more about the lifestyle. No matter where you are, you can practice. And the asana is just an introduction to a bigger picture of what yoga really is.
So you took over the Walmart clothing department, moved all the clothes, and you had a class right in the Walmart.
Correct.
Man, how many people came to that? That must have been great.
We've done it several times, actually. It averages about 100 people, and then just the people who are actually in the store, they come and they're getting exposed to what it is, and then they hear a little bit more information. And then we follow that with the cooking class, so we don't just do just the asana. We also focus on the eating aspects so people can have a more rounded approach to the practice.
Great. Wow. This is fantastic. So tell me about the quote that you offered, discipline interrupts distraction.
So if you think about time, you got 1440, right? Every single day, your life is in your hands. And what you do with your time, it really matters. And oftentimes people don't realize that time can mold you and it can condition you into becoming a person that you do not want to be when you're not disciplined enough to focus on your goals. So you become distracted and you're not accomplishing what you set out to do. Somebody calls you when you're practicing and you answer that phone and they invite you somewhere, and then you go and then you lose sight of what you were initially focusing on. You're in college and you have to study, and somebody calls you out for a party, and now you have to get up the next morning and you're tired and you're fatigued because you weren't disciplined enough to do the work. And you look up 5 years, 10 years from now, and life got a hold of you, and now you've been conditioned into becoming a person that you don't want to be, and now you're living in regret, and you're living in a place that's not comfortable for you. And that's where, for many people, depression lives, because they weren't disciplined enough to pursue and follow and complete their mission in life, and whatever that may be for them. It may change over time, but just staying focused enough to execute what you set out to do. And it's so easy to get distracted in today's society. There's so much things trying to pull you in, whether it be the cell phone, whether it be social media, the television, your friends and family, and you lose yourself over time. And once time gets a hold of you, it starts showing up.
Mm-hmm. So this is perfect. So on Your Best Life, this show every week, I have great people on, and they're telling you all these tricks and tips, practices, how to find more peace in your life, how to be more fit, how to eat better, just all this stuff. And then you could go on Amazon and you could order 1,000 books about living a more healthy life. And
Mm.
if you don't do this stuff, it's not going to work. So what are your tips to stay in discipline? It's not a lack of resource out there, that's for sure. There's plenty of classes even at Walmart now. So
So to stay disciplined, once you set out to accomplish something, you focus on that. Don't focus on what you're not doing, focus on what you are doing. And that will enable you to accomplish what you want to do. You have to set your intentions, and that goes along with it. What is it that I want to accomplish? And the buy wins. When am I going to get this done? And most importantly, be consistent. Oftentimes we don't have enough consistency to further what it is we're trying to do, and we lose ourselves within that because we get distracted. And you have to have a mission mind. You have to be mission driven. This is what I want to accomplish, and this is when I'm going to accomplish it. And also, don't look for instant gratification. Oftentimes people, they do something and they do it for maybe a week and they say, you know what, I'm not producing the results that I wanted, so I'm going to give up. But you have to be consistent, because that's where the results come. You didn't just show up as a grown person in this society, or 10 years old, 15 years old, 30 years old. It was a process, and you have to understand that you have to really honor and respect the process and the time it's going to take to better your life. And if you're willing to, put in the work and give yourself enough time, you will see results in whatever area that you want, as long as you're consistent and not making excuses and not talking about what you want to do. There's a difference in talking about what you want to do and what you're actually doing. And when you talk about what you're actually doing, you're going to see the results. And that's going to lead to the last one, and that's celebrating your small victories. So you have some victories and you want to celebrate that. Not always being hard on yourself because you didn't, meet your own expectations, but you've done the work and you were consistent, and that's something to be celebrated every single day. Every time you wake up in the morning, you should celebrate life. You have life, and that's in your body. And when you get up, that's going to give you the energy to take it to the next level if you're consistent, if you're disciplined, if you're feeling good, and really checking in with your mind, not always being self-destructive and getting in your own way. And oftentimes those are some of the things that happen with so many people. We get in our own way and we blame other people for our own shortfalls. Be accountable for yourself. Did I get up? Did I do the work? And these are the things that we want to apply if we really are interested in taking our lives to the next level.
Tyrone, that's so important what you just said, that I want to put it in a way that people really hear it and can use it, because this yoga can change your life, as you know, and you see it in your students all the time. And what a challenge it is, though, to do it daily, or just whenever you commit to whatever you commit to in life that's going to improve your life. It's so important to be able to do it. So let's go through those points just a little bit more. So discipline is all about consistency, I heard. You have to have a mission mind. You got to say, I'm doing this, not, you just got to do it. You're not saying I'm going to do this. I heard you say that. You got to celebrate your successes along the way, and you got to have patience, because it's not just going to happen overnight. And you got to take accountability for yourself and not blame your circumstances or people in your life. I didn't go to yoga because of the kids, maybe.
Right.
So could you sum it up once more? So if someone's listening or they're watching this online, like how do you have discipline? One more time, just in a nutshell, because it's a challenge for everyone, right?
This is the best way I understand it for myself. This is something I remind myself pretty frequently. And if you've ever celebrated Christmas as a child and you had those gifts underneath the tree and you were really excited to open up those gifts, so you're eager to wake up. You don't want to sleep in. You actually want to wake up and go open those presents. Now, fast forward. Now, what if the tree's not there, but those presents of life are still there waiting for you? And when you wake up and you're energized to go receive those gifts, that's going to take you to the next level.
Great way to put it. And then celebrate those gifts.
Celebrate them. Life is a gift, and we have to look at life as such. And I think that's something that we should remind ourselves. The moment you wake up, that determines how the rest of your day is going to go. If you feel sluggish, you may be sluggish for the rest of your day. But if you wake up energized and just really excited about life, you're going to want to pursue something great. So waking up is what's really important. When you wake up, what are you doing with your time? Are you on your screen, on television? Are you on your cell phone? Are you checking emails? Are you setting your intention to say, this is what I want to accomplish today, and this is how I'm going to do it? And that's just keeping it simple. You don't want to make it so complex. I think sometimes we make so much information complex, it becomes overwhelming and it becomes a turnoff for many people. But if you keep it simple, when I wake up, I'm feeling good. And even if I'm not, I can change the thought patterns I have to produce different results. I can change the way I look at any circumstance to change the outcome of what I'm experiencing. There's many people who are faced with tragedy. There's many people who are faced with just obstacles. But when you're faced with that obstacle, how do you respond to that obstacle? That's what's important, is the response of your circumstances, which changes the outcome of the experience.
Beautiful. So can you tell me more about I'm Unique? Like, what's it all about? When did you start that up?
So I'm Unique is a nonprofit organization, and we facilitate different health and wellness programming. Our mission is to create a culture of health, individual growth, and social change. So we don't focus just on what people classify as yoga classes and cooking classes. We focus on the entire person, but we also focus on the community and relevant issues that people are experiencing and dealing with. So we go into different cultural facilities, such as, like I said earlier, the Denver Zoo, Museum of Nature and Science, sporting arenas, restaurants, and we facilitate yoga classes. And after that, we have a program called Breaking Bread and Breaking Barriers. And what that consists of is having dialogues with people who may disagree on certain issues to come up with a viable and alternative way to approach the situation. So we did one not too long ago. It started off with police brutality, police relations, and there were people from the community who have experienced police brutality, and they had lawsuits against the city. And we brought in law enforcement. We brought in chief of police of 2 different cities to have a conversation around what we can do to change the narrative and build relationships. So it was really, the energy was really high. There was a lot of anger in the room. There was a lot of tension. And by the end of the conversation, the people who were really tense and hate police officers, they've been hating police officers their whole life, they were shaking hands and saying how their mind had been changed because they never had an opportunity to see the other side of the story. And from that point on, we had different conversations around race relations. And that's been a consistent thing. Many people are interested in having these conversations. It's a conversation that's pretty uncomfortable for many folks, but the way it's set up is a safe environment to where we can have these real, authentic conversations around an issue that's been plaguing this country since its birth. And it hasn't been addressed in a way that can really produce some of the change that many people want to see. So that's another program. So what we do is we have an asana class. We open up people's hearts, open up their mind, and then we dive deep into a real serious conversation to address needs of the community, to create the change that we feel like we can create within those conversations. So that's a couple of things about programs that we do. We also have a tea program. It's called Tea Culture. We break down the origins of tea and how people utilize tea to heal the body in many different places around the world. And again, have those conversations around origins and where certain things come from to educate people who may not see themselves in the history books. And oftentimes there are people who are purposefully taken out of the history books. And that's why some people don't feel as though they want to go to a yoga class or want to partake in anything else because they don't see themselves represented in it. As you talked about earlier, there's a climate of there's this one body type, there's one person that yoga's for. And oftentimes that's because of the media, the promotion in which you see, and changing that narrative and showing people of different backgrounds, different body makeups. That's going to draw people in to solve some of those problems as well. So those are the things that we focus on. Those are some of the programs that we have. We have a cooking class as well. And we talk about some of the origins of cooking and how cooking can optimize your overall lived experience, how it affects you emotionally. So I'll just stop there. It's so much, it just keeps going, but it's really about addressing the whole person, but also the community in which they live.
Yeah, this is really amazing timing. So the Yoga Journal study just came out for 2016 Yoga in America. Mm-hmm. Yoga practitioners are like through the roof. We added 12 million practitioners since 2014. I want to say it's up to 32 million people practicing yoga. I got to check that fact, and I'll put it in the show notes afterwards. But point is, lots of people are practicing yoga. And if you're watching this and you think yoga is what you see at at the corner studio, there's no way all those people are practicing in a studio. I mean, this is all over now. And what do you see? What you just said is great. It's yoga is so much deeper than just asana. So to you, I guess what is yoga? You know, what is yoga? More broad than just the asana, you know? And then I want to ask too, what's our culture going to look like in 10, 20, 50 years if more and more people start doing yoga, but not just the stuff you see it, you know, that you think of as the physical part, but really going deep and changing how it impacts your lifestyle. Like it changes the way you want to eat. It changes the way you communicate with other people, that you did some asana, people felt good, and then they had a dialogue that was long overdue. And that will reduce violence in the community. So, man, it's a big picture thing. It's so much different than just exercise yoga.
Right. So yoga, I mean, you hear it being defined as union, to yoke, to join. And I think another way to define that is to merge two lands, and that being one of yourself and one of the elements, and create harmony. Anytime you create harmony, you find peace. And anytime you don't have that, that's where you have conflict. So ultimately, what I feel like the goal should be is to pursue harmony, pursue balance. And that's the way I interpret yoga, is around creating balance, not just within yourself, but in the environment in which you live. And oftentimes when we talk about the issues in society, your attention is usually drawn to something that affects you. And that is toxic if you're only affected by limited things. But if you see things from an aerial perspective, you'll begin to understand other people's situation and circumstance, and then you can create balance and harmony within their lives as well. And I think that's what needs to be said in addition to history. So when we talk about history books, it gets really interesting when you go into yoga and who gets taken out of that context. Just like some of the history books that we have today in our schools, and we're teaching kids things that may not be 100% accurate, and they go into the collegiate system and they think that what they've been learning has been accurate, and over time they may have a conversation that may shift their paradigm and say, you know what, there's other things as well. And that goes as well with yoga. So many people don't know about the Kemetic yoga principles, which is, you know, the ancient Egyptian yoga philosophy. Many people factor in the Indian traditions in the 5,000 years, and that you know, Krishnamacharya, and they have that lineage and they have that information. But when it comes to the Kemetic side of things, many people are not aware of that, and it's now coming to light. More and more people are talking. More people are taking a pilgrimage to Egypt, and they see it written on the walls. They see it written in hieroglyph. They see it written on papyrus. They see it, you know, the images of asana and different principles. They even see the pyramid in which it was designed and how it was connected to, you know, the stars, and just in perfect alignment with many things. And now it's coming into light that what was going on over there is not just happening there, but it happened many places. And there was something, what people classify now as yoga, but what it was classified as in Smayi Tawi. And that again is the merging of two lands. So it just depends on who you ask and how deep you want to go, because it goes a lot deeper than the present conversation, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So tell me what impacts our culture will see if people keep deepening their yoga practice and it keeps growing like it is in the United States. Because right now, you could look at some stats about our culture, and it's not that exciting to read, like about violence and, you know, depression rates. And, you know, if you look at the stats, America's not the happiest culture on the planet, arguably, or the healthiest. But I feel like we're heading in the right direction. We're starting to eat better as a culture. You know, do you see? You know, what shifts do you think are going to happen if this trend continues and we go deeper and deeper?
That's a great question. What I believe is going to happen is people are going to have higher standards for themselves. When you have higher standards for yourself and your society, that creates balance. I think the low standards that people have, and this is just something that happened a couple of years ago, that I felt like that's a part of the problem. In 2014 in Detroit, there was a big lawsuit, and the judge said that the schools don't have to actually educate the students, and it was a huge problem. And they were not obligated to teach these students. They had no kind of jurisdiction. They had no law to say that they had to really educate the students properly. And we talk about the standards for your society. That's a very low standard. When we talk about the food that we're putting in our bodies and we know that they're toxic, but we allow those things to happen, that's a very low standard. So the more and more people practice, the more they're going to see the quality of life and the need for the quality of life of all people, not just one group, but for everybody. And that's going to increase the vibration. That's going to increase our standards in which we live. And that can change the narrative. And that can change the fact that, you know, one group of people is being displaced to where we have so much war, we have so much chaos, but we're looking out for each other. And at the end of the day, I think that's what's really important is, are you looking out for other people like you're looking out for yourself? The best interest that you have for yourself, do you have that for other people? Also, that may not look like you, that may not have the same background as you. And once you do those things, that will simultaneously create more peace. That'll create more harmony. That'll create more happy people. And people won't be suffering internally because they're dealing with so much internal chaos. So the more and more people practice, genuinely practicing, I think that's going to change the way that we exist as human beings, and the way we treat each other, and the way we just live life.
Higher standards. I can relate to that, man. Lately, I've been almost angry, you know, at myself for what I accepted before for food. You know, like just unhealthy food, the stuff that's in the soil and all the GMO stuff, and just unhealthy food. And then medical care, like I'm not willing to accept anymore that 5 minutes with my doctor is where it's at. You know, I want to sit down with someone and figure out the root cause. Is that what you're talking about a little bit? Like just we want a higher standard for ourselves, and you start to see that when you take care of your body with yoga, and then you after you do yoga, you're not going to want to stop and get a cheeseburger from a chain store. You want to get something halfway decent for your body, right? And when you're feeling sick, you're like, oh, maybe there's a better way than some medication that's going to have a bunch of side effects. It just changes your whole life. But what I hear you saying, I think, is you just start to have a higher standard for yourself, but then you got to have a higher standard for others too, but not just people that look like you and people that can maybe afford to shop at Whole Foods and spend $300 on a few bags of groceries. This is for everyone. And I guess, can you talk a little bit about that? Like this higher standard and how important it is to share it with all people and yeah.
So oftentimes when we talk about health and wellness, what we talk about is the physical side of things and how well we eat. But what gets left out frequently is how well do we treat other people? And that takes a toll on your physical. It affects you on an emotional level. But when you have higher standards for yourself, like you said, you're not putting toxic foods in your body that you know are toxic. There are practitioners that I know who say that no matter what they eat, they're going to be okay. So it just really depends on the interpretation, because language is very subjective to interpretation. And people can say, well, I vibrate at a high energy, so whatever I put in my body is going to be okay. And then people like me say, I think the food that we put in should be real. And that's how we build harmony with nature. And that affects us on a cellular level. So when we talk about standards, is this food toxic? Are these products toxic? It goes a lot deeper than food. We talk about our skin being the biggest organ of the body, the lotions that we put on our body, the soaps that we have, the deodorants. Those things are now, not getting as much attention as food, but that should be a part of it as well. And as we talk about yoga, we have to look at the whole person. It's everything that you put in your body. It's the air that you breathe. I think Tesla's doing a good job. They're approaching something that society should be going in that direction as we look at sustainability. It's all these things. It's everything. Like your human body has a system. It has systems. You have a digestive system, a skeletal system, a reproductive system, cardiovascular. You have all of these different systems that govern your body. And if you look at society, it's the same way. You have a transit system, you have an education system, you have a monetary system, you have all these systems that have to work simultaneously and harmoniously together. And once one of those systems are messed up, then it affects all the other systems. So as we look at our human body, we have to look at all the systems and how they work together and how we can optimize our living experience. That's really big and broad, but I think that's what we have to look at. It can't just be the one person taking on this by themselves. We have to build systems that support people as they look to enhance and improve their lives.
This is so much more than down dog.
Yeah, but it's a system when you wake up, how you talk to people, how you treat people. And I think there's a lot of reconditioning that must take place. Oftentimes, I use this pretty frequently when you're driving in the car and somebody cuts you off and you get mad, and they don't even know they cut you off. They weren't even aware of it. And you're yelling and you're screaming. And now that's releasing, that's releasing cortisol. That's releasing a lot of toxicity within you. You're in that fight or flight. And now it's affecting you on a cellular level. And they don't even know what's going on. So it's you that has that within you, and you're holding on to that. But you could have responded differently and not got elevated, and that wouldn't affect you internally. And those are some of the things that we have to look at is how have I been conditioned to respond in my life, and what areas do I need to change that in so I'm not hurting myself in the long run. Oftentimes people, like I said, they talk about how well they eat and how much exercising they do. But how are we monitoring our own thoughts? Our own thoughts are what create our reality. Our own thoughts are what create the internal conflicts. So that's what we need to focus on as well, is bringing that into light.
This is so much great information. We could have a 2-hour conversation here. But what books would you recommend that have influenced you and your thinking in your life, and that you would recommend someone reads, like starting right away?
I think something good for people to become familiar with is the laws of Ma'at.
What's that about? What is that? How do you spell that?
It's principles. M-A. You ready? Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right. M-A'-A-T.
That was easy.
Yeah, so it's more so principles. It's very similar to the Yoga Sutras, not the 8 limbs of yoga. So you'll see some similarities in the principles there and in the laws of Ma'at. And I think that's a really good start, and that allows you to evaluate where you are and what you're doing with your time, how you're treating other people, and how you're showing up in the world. That's something that's really important. And are you looking out for the best interests of others as you are yourself? And realize when we talk about yoga community, we exclude a lot of people who have done great work. You can look at, the work of Martin Luther King, or even the late Dr. Vincent Harding, and how they showed up in the world and how they contributed to the world. And they were practicing yoga. They weren't practicing the asana, but they practiced a lot of those principles. So be more inclusive when we talk about yoga. So we're not just saying, oh, well, you're not practicing asana, so you're not a yogi. But there are many people out there doing the work, and their work that they're doing is so necessary to change the state in which we live. If we're really interested in changing our society into a more harmonious society.
Mm. Now, this show, Your Best Life, it's designed for people to watch all over the country, and it's designed to have some shelf life too. If they watch this a year from now, it's going to be just as helpful as it is today. But I do want to talk about something really special coming up in Colorado that you're part of. Colorado Yoga Unites. It's happening February 27th, Saturday night, and you're on a panel with some amazing people: Patrick Harrington, Krista Swind, Heather Lindemann, yoga studio owners, people who are really making some big moves and helping people in the yoga community. I guess I just wanted to get into something I see in the yoga community. Well, I'm not going to use that word anymore. How do you say it? If we're not saying yoga community, what's a more inclusive way to say that?
Yoga practitioners, I don't know. I'm still looking for an alternative word myself.
Right. But I mean, yeah.
Still labeling and titling is very important. So I don't want to be missed in that regard. But I definitely say the practitioners, you can practice many things and still take on the art. I've seen tea masters who you would classify as yogis. Mm-hmm. So, martial arts, Tai Chi masters, all of them for me are yogis. That's just my interpretation. But it's anybody who's on the path of harmony. That's how I would define it personally.
Yep. So as this is growing, as there's more yoga practitioners in the United States, and people are coming together, what I'm seeing is there's so many great teachers, right? And each teacher has their own unique way to reach people. So there's like thousands or hundreds of thousands of different ways to enter this path of being more healthy and well and having more peace in our community. So there's all these different gateways is how I see it, with all these different teachers, different styles. What's the benefit as we're growing, though, to coming together? And I'll throw one out there. I feel like as we come together as as we get the teachers together and the yoga studios and all the different parts of the community, I feel like we can figure out who can benefit each student the best. So if one student happens to go to the corner studio or to some event that they find, and that's not quite their home in yoga, it's not quite what they need. There's someone else in the community that can serve them better. So getting everyone together, I feel like one of the benefits will be channeling those students to the best teacher. But yeah, what benefits do you see of getting everyone together in the same room and starting to think more as a team, but still appreciating that every teacher like you are so unique? That's the name of your organization. Everyone's so unique. But what's the benefit of getting everyone together in a container, like together?
To be honest and direct, the importance is oftentimes when we talk about yoga, we talk about it in the sense of love, compassion. And when we talk about yoga studios, we see division and we see people being disconnected. So what this is going to do is change that narrative and bring people together in a way that's never been done to really illustrate what's possible. And then they can be filters and feeders to a practitioner. Okay, I like this flavor. I like this style. I can go here, I can go there, and I can get my needs met. But the bigger picture is when these people come together, you can change anything you want to change, because when we talk about power in numbers, that's exactly what's going to happen. You have all of these like-minded individuals coming together in a way that's never been done before. That's making history, and that's changing the way we do things, and it's going to propel what's possible to the next level. And that goes to different cities, different states. And now people are coming together in a way that's going to be beneficial, not only for them solely, but for a better society, a better community, reaching more people with this message to ultimately change some of the areas that we want to change. And as we do that together, it'll be a lot easier, as opposed to everyone doing it on their own and being divided and this studio being against this studio. But it really illustrates the principles of yoga. And I think that's necessary for the time in which we live.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say, a lot of people that watch this show are studio owners, some of them are students as well, of course, but what would you say to a studio owner or a teacher who has the thinking, I have a certain amount of students, this is my livelihood, and I want to keep my students. I'm not really interested in getting together with everyone else too much because these are my students. That's kind of one way to think about the world. And then the other way to think about it is I'm gonna be wide open to community, and there's plenty for everyone. So yeah, how do you speak to that? What advice would you give that person that doesn't want to really unite because they're protecting a little bit?
Earlier, I talked about self-preservation, and that ultimately is what that is, self-preservation. When libraries were first built, all the writers wanted to shut them down. They said, that's the dumbest idea. Why have a library? Why allow these people to get a book for free? And what they found is they had more readers, and now they have more people buying their book. So when you're exposed to a larger audience, you're exposed to more people, and where you are may be conducive for someone who's actually been traveling 30 minutes to go to another studio, and now you've actually picked up a new participant. So you can never project what's going to happen, but the more and more you have exposure, the more people have their eyes on what you do. And you service a need in the community that everybody doesn't have. And don't think about it in a competition state, because that's often what we do in our society. From birth, you have the neighborhood you were born in, the hospital you were born in, then you have the school you went to, then you have the college you went to, and then you have your race, your makeup, and every single one of those is teaching you how to be divided. Mm. Every single one. So since birth, we've always learned how to be divided. But when we talk about the practice of yoga, you're talking about coming together. You're talking about unifying. So you're going to be able to unify and connect with something higher and greater than yourself. And whenever you do something greater than yourself, the impact is going to last forever. And that's what you should look at. The impact that you're making with the community is so necessary, and it's a need, and we need you to be a part of that. And don't look at this as competition. Look at this as elevating yourself. And I think it's all ships rising. and you're rising above and beyond all of those limitations that society creates. And we're doing something that's new, something that's innovative, and it's bringing people together. And that, again, is very necessary to change the narrative.
Woo! Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. So getting everyone together, that's a great example of the library. So if we're going to reach more people, then it's not by protecting what you have and keeping it for yourself. It's by coming together and sharing and putting it out there together. And then more people doing yoga, healthier culture, everyone wins.
That's the idea. That's the idea. We got to do the work. We got to be consistent. We got to be patient. We can't look for instant gratification. And we have to be willing to show up. If you don't show up, you're always going to be wondering what happened. You're going to have to rely on someone else to tell you. But when you show up, you know what happened because you were there. And when those history books are written, will you be on the right side of history? Or will you be the person who stayed in the closet away from life?
Well, that's a great invitation right there. So if you want to know what happened, come on Saturday, February 27th to Kindness Yoga Hilltop, and it's going to be a great discussion. We are going to record it, and we're going to release that video afterwards. So if for some reason you really can't make it, just RSVP anyways, and you'll get a copy of the video so people can be on in this conversation. So yeah, and we're getting towards the end of the show now, and this is a question I ask everyone that comes on Your Best Life Today, and it's from your whole life experience, not just yoga, martial arts, just everything you've experienced in your life. What are 3 things that people can do and put into action in their life today to live their best life?
Many people seek validation, and it's very important to know whenever you wait for someone to validate your worth, they will always have power over you. And I think most of the time people don't pursue their dreams or do anything that they really want to do is because of the expectations that other people have for them. Mm-hmm. So don't look for someone else's validation. That's the first one. You said 3?
Yeah, 3 actionable things. Yeah, that'll lead to your best life. Yep.
And I've said them before, is being consistent. And your best life, if you're not happy, you can't really say that it's your best life. So you have to be happy with the decisions that you make because it's you that must live with them. If you're doing something and you're not happy or you're not in harmony with yourself, then what's the point of doing it? So happiness on an emotional level, not to where you're wearing a mask and you're smiling for people, but when it really feels good on the inside, that's something that is going to take you to the next level in your lived experience. So you don't have to do a circus for anybody. You're not putting on a show for anyone else, but you're really looking deep down inside yourself and you're saying, this is what makes me feel good. This is what I'm doing. And pursue that which makes you smile when nobody's around and you feel good about doing it. Because many people live a life that they don't want to live, but they do it because they feel like they have to, and they live for other people. And they don't have enough willpower to do it for themselves. And I think once you start doing that, you live your best life because you've ultimately expressed yourself. And you weren't always impressing everybody else. You were expressing everything that's within you, and you realize that you are a gift. And you're walking in that purpose, and you're walking in that gift. From the moment you wake up, hey, somebody go get this life. And when you go to sleep, you'll be satisfied.
Well, so the 3 things that you do: don't wait for validation, consistency, and value happiness.
That's good. I like the way you sum that up. Yeah.
Well, it's helpful if you're driving in your car. You need those quick bullet points.
Yeah, that's it. It's challenging at times because, language is so subjective. When you say happiness, people are going to say, oh, well, making other people happy makes me happy. And you have to figure out what that means to you because it's going to mean something different for everybody. You can say love and someone else, defines that differently. So realizing that language is subjective to interpretation, but how do you interpret those things to build the action items around it? So.
Mm-hmm. Now, everyone watching this is going to want to connect with you and learn more about I'm Unique and Tyrone Beverly as a teacher. Where can they go online to learn more about and get involved with your organization and what you offer?
So the website is I'mUniqueUnited.com, and you can see our full schedule. You can see some of the things we have coming up. We're always willing to go to different states to take the program. So anybody who's in California, New York, or anywhere else around the world, we would love to come be a part of what you got going on there and share what we have with you. So that's a place they can go. They can go to Facebook, the Illustrating Union Yoga Tour. So it's I'm Unique and the Illustrating Union Yoga Tour. And again, the whole Illustration Union is just bringing different groups of people together that necessarily wouldn't share the same space. So that's what that represents as we go into different neighborhoods and different backgrounds, bringing all those people together to really illustrate what yoga is, and that's union. So you can go there and check us out on Facebook. I'm Unique in the Illustrated Union Yoga Tour. You can email me directly, Tyrone at I'mUniqueUnited.com. I think that's a couple of different ways.
Great. And we'll talk after the show, but I would love it if you could teach a Yoga Rocks the Park one of these summers and just bring it to everyone, all shapes, sizes, all backgrounds. We have a free event. And it's meant for everyone. So you'd be a great instructor. I know you're a busy guy, so we'll talk after the show. But man, I'd love it.
I would love to be a part of it.
Thanks, Tyrone, and appreciate you being on Your Best Life today. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you for having me.